Hi there everyone, Lars back with another review and analysis for Kimi Wa Meido Sama, Episode 8, brought to you by Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers, because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. And this week's episode is one of major discoveries, revealing a lot about the world of this story, as well as Yuki herself. So let's begin at, the beginning. We open up with Yuki and Hitoyoshi working with Grace, treating her to some ramen in order to persuade her to do some dangerous research into Yuki's sister. Where is she? What is she up to? Is there any way that they can communicate with her? To which Grace is like, well, this is going to cost you, believe you me. And that will come into play later on within the episode. Well, for Yuki, who just absolutely loves her katsuda sauce, she is running dangerously low. But she's going to try to stretch out her last bit for the week, except that they get jumped by Hitiyoshi's friends, who conveniently bring up a lot of things that are going to be very relevant to the plot rather soon, such as Hitiyoshi's dark past, his relationship with his father, and that there is a very special cultural festival / sports festival / educational festival wherein people will be able to win copious amounts of katsuda sauce. Oh, this is going to be absolutely great. What isn't great is that in the scuffle between Hitoyoshi and his friends, a one-of-a-kind signed CD from a singer who's going to be very important later goes flying towards the gutter. Yuki throws her school bag to catch it before it falls in, but unfortunately that causes her last bit of sauce to go careening onto the sidewalk, and she spills the rest of it. And unfortunately, because of this festival that is coming up, there is no extra sauce to be had. All the sauce is being produced by the family that makes it. They're making all of the sauce for the upcoming festival as a prize, and whatever they've had has already been given away to students and other people who have ordered copious amounts of it. So with the sauce suddenly gone, Yuki is put into some weird trauma state where now she is berated by the katsuda sauce itself, saying how she is a horrible girl for throwing it away, and because she's willing to even throw away that sauce, she's willing to throw away everyone else in this new, warm, beautiful life that she has. Really? Because she's just a killer. That's what she's always been. She even threw away her own sister! So Yuki is completely distraught at this point, but lucky for her, she's got Hitoyoshi in her life who is there to, help her out in any way that he can. Not that he really actually can. It's not like he knows what it's like to be in the world of spies and assassins. He can't help Grace do the research. He's got his own things he's got to focus on, his own family, his own house, his own school life. At the very least, though, he can be a good friend and, listen to her. Try to comfort her as best as he can, which is what he does. And it allows Yuki to confront the nightmares of her past. And we're really getting quite a bit revealed to us here in this episode, which is meant to be relevant way later on in the series. Finally, we come back to the upcoming festival. What must be done? Well, if Yuki wants to win the glorious prize of the katsuda sauce, she will need to help her class rank first amongst all the other classes there at the school. And this will be part of an actual test that will be taken. Everyone's got all of their scores and be added on up, combined against their scores during a kind of practical exam, whatever that exam might be. It changes from year to year. Well, to try to get a bit of a leg up, Yuki and Hitoyoshi decide that they are going to utilize Grace, but Grace is like, oh no, if you want my help, we are going to come up with a new deal. That deal that we had at the beginning where you would spare me if I did this, that's going to now go out the window because you love that sauce so much. Also, we're going to have to redefine some of your other payments, and also on top of that, you are not allowed to ever again use katsuda sauce on ramen, you filthy heathen, you! And she's able to leverage even more oomph on this because she discovers that Yuki has not put her name onto a test. And if that test is failed, that will basically mean that Yuki's class is out of any hope of running for the #1 spot within the overall festival. So Yuki really needs to get her name there onto that test. Grace is leveraging this. She's now absolutely in a position of power until a rather weird slightly pink whirlwind whooshes on through, and then suddenly Yuki's name is there on the test. The day is saved, thanks to this curious pink-haired girl who will now finally be relevant after being built up ever so slightly in the background for the past 2 episodes. This episode is a very interesting one, in part because of just how much it's covered. For those of us who have read the manga, there's so much that's happening here in this episode, and the pacing has really been cranked up, not quite to 11, but it's really high. We've jumped through a lot of information, and as a result of jumping actually through so much information about Yuki's backstory, and the different people who inhabit that previous world that she lived in, a world of assassins and spies and murderers, this episode really set aside a lot of the horror and supernatural elements of Kimi Wa Meido Sama. Read the manga, and there is a lot of supernatural whatnot and spooky whatnot that is happening throughout the story. As for the anime, however, it seems really to focus on the rom-com elements, which, given that they really want to focus on how Yuki wants to become a normal girl and her growing relationship with Hitoyoshi, and because they only have so many episodes this season, it makes sense that this would be the stuff that would be cut. The only thing is that it makes what Hiraki does at the very end of the episode just kind of silly, because it hasn't been properly built up like it would have been if they had slowed down and taken their time. So, since the supernatural elements of the story and the horror elements have been largely set to the side, let's then focus on the rom-com aspect. How has that been working out? Well, I would say that they've landed where they needed to for this story. By following largely what the manga has laid out, the relationship is progressing nicely. No big major leaps and bounds. These two aren't necessarily getting kissy-kissy. Oh yes, they're canoodling in bed. But one of the things that we have to recognize right here is how Yuki really is many steps behind Hitoyoshi in terms of social development, emotional development, and the likes. She's largely a kid here at this moment. She is learning to mature through her experiences in high school and by navigating just basic life with Hitoyoshi. And this is one of those moments, and it's a very important one because of how it allows Hitoyoshi to finally be someone that Yuki can rely on to overcome something that for her is insurmountable. And then, of course, we got all of the blushing and trembling and, oh my gosh, this isn't right, stuff that we've come to expect from most rom-com stories from Japan. However, one thing that I will most definitely criticize this story for, and this goes actually for both the manga and the anime, is how Hitayoshi's friends are pretty much there to provide exposition when it is needed. It would be great to understand the relationship between these 3 characters. You have what seems to be opposites attracting, different personalities somehow meshing and becoming best friends, and that's totally fine, and it would be great to see these guys' relationships more on display and a better explanation of what it's like between them, to get real conversations rather than just exposition dumps and, oh, did you know that Hitoyoshi was once like this? Oh, do you know that there's a festival coming up? Oh, did you know that class is like this? These interactions are very easy to write and easily, therefore, become a pitfall for many authors in that they're like, okay, then I need to provide exposition, and I need to also develop other relationships so that way these characters feel more rounded out, the world feels bigger, and it's all good, which you do want that. You want your characters to have multiple relationships to give them greater depth, to bring in more elements of the world, more elements of your story, and to provide for some of those more lighthearted or even more emotional moments that you might not get otherwise. Having a larger cast does mean more work, but it can pay off in amazing dividends for the author and for the story overall. Unfortunately, again, because it's so much easier to just write one-dimensional characters who provide exposition and are there to be the friends or there to be the enemies sometimes, it actually robs us of so much potential. And unfortunately, if the anime continues to faithfully adapt the manga at this point, do not expect any more from these dudes. Seriously, don't. They're pretty one-dimensional, they exist to give exposition. And that really isn't very good. As a point of comparison, when I was writing my first big novel, The Knights of Halley Cruise, I got to a point where I realized that, wow, my main character is just kind of going along with the plot. Yes, he's got some relationships with some very important characters, but again, it all just feels like it's there for exposition. And so I went back and I was editing and I was trying to make it not so exposition filled, try to bring out a little bit more laughs, a little bit more tension, a little bit more character development for the main character and for his new friends. But I realized that I was still just going along with the plot. These characters largely serve the plot. And the inspiration that came to me is, what if I introduced 2 other characters who could come on in and actually be friends to our main character and to some of the other characters and provide greater dimension and be there not for exposition purposes, but be there to bring life to this story, to bring out the laughs, to bring out the drama, to bring out the will they, won't they moments if I wanted to write that kind of stuff, as well as just general fun. You know, just have fun writing some great exposition of characters, just shooting the breeze over silly little stuff. And while that might seem like, hey, why would you want to waste valuable time within your book to do that? It really helped to make these characters feel real. It helped the world to feel real. And those became some of the chapters that I enjoyed writing the most because it was so much fun bringing life to these characters. Make your characters more than just one-dimensional excuses to provide exposition, and they will reward you with amazing interactions that make your story come to life. The good thing is that if, again, the anime is faithfully adapting the information from the manga, we are about to get a very good girlfriend relationship. And I'm not saying girlfriend in terms of romance. I'm saying that one girl is being friend with another girl, something that is overlooked way too often. And that's one of the things I really do like about Kimi Wa Meido Sama, especially as you get more of the story, is how Yuki befriends other girls and has healthy relationships, healthy friendships with other girls. Wow, amazing. Wouldn't it be great if we got more of that in fiction? I certainly believe so. So I'm really excited that we're going to see that. I just wish that we could get that same kind of treatment for Hitayoshi's pals. Hopefully the anime might give us a little bit more of detail of that, because that would be really nice, but I'm not really holding out hope for that. So ultimately, what are our takeaways from this episode? Well, we're learning a whole lot more about Yuki, and especially the darker backstory of her sister, which I haven't really talked a whole lot about in this episode because, well, I know all the spoilers, and I'm so tempted to say what's going to happen next, and so I'm going to absolutely refrain from doing so. But also, any speculation that I could give, just based on the information that we have right here, is wildly inaccurate. So I'm not going to touch it. I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are if you're anime onlys down in the comments below. Let me know what you think is actually going on with the sister and what the real story actually is. But other takeaways are this, especially if you are a writer. If you want your story to come to life, you need to have enriching, engaging, 3-dimensional, nay, even 4-dimensional characters who have actual relationships with each other. And no, that does not mean romance. That means that they just actually have connections with each other that you can play on, that they can be familial, they can be friendly, they can be antagonistic for all I care. But you need to have in-depth relationships. If a character just simply exists to provide exposition, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but don't just simply plaster the title of friend on that character and then expect that character to carry the day emotionally or narratively, because no, they've only existed to help provide exposition. So, with all that being said, that will wrap up this video, this review and analysis for Kimi Wa Meido Sama. And if you're looking for more reviews, analyses, recommendations, and the likes, then please check out our other videos here on our channel. And if you'd like to support the work that we do, please check out the books that we've published. Links for all of them are in the description below. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible adventure that we call writing. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.
そうなの。ママって美人で賢くて笑顔が素敵で。
愛する両親の喜ぶ顔だった。神童の君を誘拐するために両親を元の巻き添えにされた。実は君から感情を奪い、その執着は両親への愛か。